There's a particular kind of silence that exists in the space where love used to live. It doesn't announce itself with drama or tears. It simply empties. Like a room after the last guest has left, still holding the warmth of their presence, but achingly, devastatingly alone. Tonight, you're about to witness what happens when a king discovers that his kingdom has crumbled, not through conquest, but through something far more terrifying, indifference, 4:00 a.m. The city sleeps beneath a blanket of stars and secrets, but Adrian Moretti is wide awake, riding the high of a life he believes he's mastered. The Mercedes S-Class purrs through empty streets, its black exterior catching amber streetlights like liquid gold. In the back seat, phone pressed to his ear, Adrian Moretti barely registers Marco's voice discussing dock shipments and inspection protocols. His mind? His mind is still 2 hours behind, tangled in hotel sheets with Vanessa, 26 years old, impossibly long legs, and blissfully uncomplicated. No questions. No accusations. No tears begging for attention he didn't want to give. Just exactly what he needed after 15 years of marriage that had grown as cold and predictable as January rain. "Boss, you still there?" Adrian blinks back to reality, his jaw tightening with the practiced control of a man who's built an empire on never showing weakness. "Yeah. Make sure Romano handles the inspection personally. I don't want any surprises." "Got it." "And boss." Marco's hesitation crackles through the line. "Isabella called the office today. 3rd time this week." The name lands like a stone in still water. Isabella. His wife. The woman waiting in the penthouse he's returning to. The woman who's become more fixture than family, more obligation than lover. What did she want? Didn't say. Just asked if you'd be home for dinner on Thursday. Tell her I'll be working late. The same answer he's given for 6 months. The same answer that's become easier and easier to deliver, like a muscle that strengthens with use. The muscle of neglect. Marco hesitates again. "You want me to actually tell her that, or should I let her figure it out?" Adrian ends the call. Some questions don't deserve answers. The car glides to a stop in front of the Moretti building, 32 floors of steel and glass that pierce the pre-dawn sky like a monument to ambition. To everyone who sees it, this building represents success. Power. Arrival. The penthouse occupying the entire top floor is Adrian's crown jewel, proof that a boy from nowhere can become a king of everything. "Want me to wait, boss?" his driver asks. "No. I'm in for the night." Adrian steps into the cool air, straightening his Tom Ford suit jacket with the unconscious gesture of a man who's forgotten what it feels like to be vulnerable. His reflection in the polished brass elevator doors shows exactly what he's crafted himself to become, 42 years old, silver threading through dark hair in a way that suggests wisdom rather than age, a face that's launched 1,000 profitable deals and twice as many fearful negotiations. He looks untouchable. Invincible. Exactly what he wanted to become. The elevator rises silently, counting off floors in glowing numbers. Adrian loosens his tie, already anticipating the routine that's become his marriage. Isabella will be asleep, or pretending to be, in their bedroom. He'll shower in the guest bathroom to avoid disturbing her. He'll slip into bed around 5 a.m. By 9 a.m., when he wakes, she'll have coffee ready and the financial section of the Times waiting beside his breakfast plate. 15 years of marriage have created patterns as reliable as clockwork. As predictable as his heartbeat. As comfortable as a cage you've forgotten you're locked inside. The elevator chimes softly. Doors slide open. Adrian steps into the penthouse foyer and stops. Something is wrong. It's not obvious at first. The penthouse never sits in complete darkness. Isabella has always insisted on leaving the entryway lamp lit. A habit from their early days, when they'd lived in a neighborhood where coming home to a dark apartment meant checking corners before relaxing. When they'd been partners in survival, not just cohabitants of luxury. But tonight, the foyer lamp is off. Only ambient city light filters through floor-to-ceiling windows, painting everything in shades of uncertainty. Adrian flips the switch. Light floods the marble entryway, revealing nothing out of place. The same abstract sculpture Isabella bought at that gallery opening 3 years ago, the one he'd called a waste of money, even though her eyes had lit up when she saw it. The same console table with the silver tray for keys and mail. The same everything. Yet different. He can't name it at first, this wrongness that prickles the back of his neck. Then he realizes, it's the silence. Not the sleeping house silence he's used to, but something deeper. Emptier. The silence of absence. Isabella? His voice echoes back to him, unanswered. Adrian moves through the living room, Italian leather shoes clicking against marble floors in a rhythm that suddenly sounds too loud, too solitary. Everything looks untouched, throw pillows arranged just so on the white sofa, Isabella's doing, always concerned with appearances, art books on the coffee table in perfect alignment, curtains hanging exactly as they should. But the air itself feels hollow. Like a stage set after the actors have gone home. He heads down the hallway toward the master bedroom, and for the first time in years, Adrian Moretti feels something unfamiliar curl in his chest. Not quite worry, Adrian Moretti doesn't worry. But awareness. The kind that's kept him alive in a business where awareness means the difference between ruling and dying. The bedroom door stands open. Adrian steps inside and immediately understands what his instincts have been screaming. The bed is made. Not just made, pristine. Untouched. The duvet pulled so tight and smooth it looks like a hotel bed waiting for its first guest. Isabella never makes the bed this perfectly. She makes it well, but there are always small imperfections, a slight wrinkle in the duvet, pillows that aren't quite symmetrical, the small touches of someone who lives in a space rather than stages it. This bed looks like no one has slept in it at all. Adrien's eyes travel to the closet, and his chest constricts. The double doors stand partially open, revealing a space that should be packed with Isabella's clothes. Instead, half the closet gapes empty. Her dresses, gone. Her shoes, all those designer heels she wore to charity galas and business dinners, vanished. His suits and shirts hang in their designated space, untouched. But where Isabella's wardrobe should create a wall of color and fabric, there's only the stark white of empty shelving and vacant hangers. What the hell? Adrian strides to the closet, yanking the doors fully open. His side remains exactly as he left it. Her side looks like someone performed a surgical extraction, removing precisely half of everything. Not all of it. That's what makes it so deliberate. She left things. The cocktail dress she wore to his birthday party 2 years ago. A few pairs of shoes he bought her. The emerald necklace that had been his grandmother's. She left the things that connected to him, took only what was truly hers. The message couldn't be clearer if she'd written it in blood: I don't want anything from you. I just want myself back. Adrien's mind races, trying to construct an explanation that makes sense. A trip? But Isabella always tells him when she travels, always leaves detailed notes about where she'll be and when she'll return. A family emergency? Her parents are dead, and her sister lives 2 hours away in Hartford, hardly far enough to warrant packing half a closet. He moves through the bedroom with increasing urgency, checking details with the obsessive focus he usually reserves for business deals. Her laptop, gone from its usual spot on the writing desk. Her jewelry box, still there, but lighter. When he opens it, all the expensive pieces he's given her over the years remain: the diamond earrings for their 10th anniversary, the sapphire bracelet for her last birthday, the Cartier watch he'd presented her with at a charity gala to show everyone he could afford to be generous. But the simple gold bracelet she'd owned since college? Gone. The pearl earrings from her mother? Gone. A small enamel ring with no monetary value that she wore constantly? Gone. She'd taken the things that meant something to her, left everything that meant something to him. And somehow, that surgical precision cuts deeper than any blade ever could. This is the story of Adrian Moretti, a man who controlled an entire city but couldn't hold on to the one thing that actually mattered. And Isabella, the woman who taught him that the quietest exits are always the loudest. Adrian stands in the center of the bedroom, surrounded by luxury that suddenly feels like mockery. 32 floors above the city he controls, and he can't control this. Can't fix this. Can't intimidate or negotiate or throw money at this until it goes his way. For the first time in 15 years, Adrian Moretti feels powerless. His eyes catch something on the marble counter in the bathroom, a flash of white that doesn't belong. He moves toward it like a man walking toward his own execution, each step heavier than the last. 2 items wait for him in the space where Isabella's perfume bottles should be. A manila envelope. Legal-sized. Crisp. Official. And a letter. Handwritten on cream-colored stationery he recognizes, the set he bought her 3 Christmases ago, the one she said was too beautiful to use, and then never did. Until now. Adrian picks up the envelope first because it's easier, more impersonal. His hands that have never trembled during negotiations with dangerous men, shake slightly as he pulls out the papers inside. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The words swim before his eyes. Legal language. Cold. Clinical. But there, on the dotted line, in Isabella's elegant handwriting, her signature. Already signed. Already decided. Filed 3 days ago. 3 days ago, while he was texting Vanessa about meeting at the hotel. While he was telling Marco to inform Isabella he'd be working late again. While he was living his life as if his marriage was just another business arrangement he could indefinitely postpone dealing with. She'd been planning this. Executing it with the quiet efficiency of someone who'd made peace with a painful decision. Adrian sets down the divorce papers with numb fingers and picks up the letter. The cream-colored stationery feels fragile, expensive, and utterly damning in his hands. He reads. Adrian. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Not far, I'm not trying to hide from you. I'm just trying to find myself again, the woman I was before I became invisible. I don't expect you to understand immediately. Maybe you never will. But I need to try to explain, not for you, but for me. For the closure I've needed for so long. Do you remember our wedding day? You stood at that altar and promised me forever. You looked at me like I was the only woman in the world, like my happiness mattered more than anything. I believed you. God help me, I believed every word. For the first few years, you kept that promise. We built this life together, not just the penthouse and the business, but us. We used to talk until 3 a.m. about dreams and fears and everything in between. You used to know how I took my coffee not because I told you, but because you paid attention. You used to kiss me goodbye like it mattered. When did that change, Adrian? Was it gradual, or was there a specific moment when you decided I wasn't worth the effort anymore? I've spent the last 3 years trying to answer that question. 3 years watching you slip further and further away, not with anger or confrontation, but with something so much worse, indifference. You stopped seeing me. I became furniture. Convenient. Expected. Boring. I tried to get your attention. Do you remember when I redecorated the living room? I thought maybe if the space felt new, you'd notice. You walked past that sculpture I loved, the one that made me feel something in a life that had gone numb, and you didn't even glance at it. I started calling your office. 3 times this week alone. Not because I needed anything. Just because I wanted to hear your voice, wanted to feel like I still had a husband. Do you know what Marco told me? That you were in a meeting. Every single time. I'm not stupid, Adrian. I know about Vanessa. The words hit him like a physical blow. She knows. Of course she knows. How had he ever thought she wouldn't? I know about the hotel on 5th Street. I know about the late-night texts you think I don't see. I know about the way you come home smelling like someone else's perfume and shower in the guest bathroom like that erases it. You want to know the worst part? It's not the affair. Affairs can be forgiven if there's something worth saving. The worst part is that I don't even think you did it to hurt me. I don't think you thought about me at all. I was so irrelevant to your life that you didn't even consider how your choices would affect me. That's what finally broke me, Adrian. Not betrayal. Irrelevance. I spent 6 months trying to decide whether to fight for us or walk away. 6 months watching you come home later and later, your eyes sliding past me like I was wallpaper. 6 months trying to remember the last time you asked how my day was, or what I was thinking, or whether I was happy. Do you even know what I do with my days? Have you ever asked? I volunteer at the Children's Hospital 3 days a week. I've been doing it for 2 years. I'm on the board of the Literacy Foundation. I've written half a novel. I've lived an entire life that you know nothing about because you stopped being curious about me the moment you decided you'd won me. That's what marriage became to you, wasn't it? A conquest. A box checked. Get married, done. Move on to the next challenge, the next deal, the next thing that makes you feel powerful. But I'm not a business acquisition, Adrian. I'm a woman who deserves to be loved, not just provided for. I deserve someone who chooses me, every day, not out of obligation but because I matter. You gave me everything except the one thing I needed, you. Adrian's vision blurs. He blinks hard, refusing to acknowledge the moisture gathering at the corners of his eyes. Men like him don't cry. Kings don't break. But God, this hurts. I'm not writing this to punish you. Honestly, I don't think anything I say could hurt you the way your indifference hurt me. I'm writing this because I need you to understand something. I loved you. Past tense. Not because you had affairs or worked too much or forgot anniversaries. I loved you through all of that. I loved you when you were broke and ambitious. I loved you when you were scared and building something from nothing. I loved you when you were mine. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being mine. And I stopped being yours. We became strangers sharing an address. The woman you married 15 years ago? She would have fought for you. She would have screamed and cried and demanded you see her. But that woman died slowly, day by day, every time you looked through her instead of at her. The woman I am now? She knows her worth. And she knows it's not measured by the size of the penthouse or the weight of the diamonds you bought to assuage guilt you don't even feel. I'm leaving behind everything you gave me. The jewelry, the dresses you picked out, the life you built. I don't want any of it. I just want the chance to remember who I was before I became invisible. Maybe someday you'll understand. Maybe you'll meet someone else and do it all differently. Maybe you'll finally learn that the only thing worth having is something you're afraid to lose. I hope you find happiness, Adrian. I really do. Just not at the expense of someone else's soul. This isn't goodbye forever. We'll have to see each other, lawyers, paperwork, the dissolution of 15 years into legal paragraphs. But this is goodbye to us. To who we were. To who we could have been if you'd chosen differently. I forgive you for the affairs. For the neglect. For making me feel like I wasn't enough. But more importantly, I forgive myself for staying too long. Take care of yourself. Try to be better for the next woman. She deserves what I never got. Isabella. P.S. I left your grandmother's necklace. It belongs in your family. And despite everything, you're still the man I gave my 20s and 30s to. That has to count for something, even if it's just a beautiful memory of what we used to be. The letter slips from Adrienne's fingers, fluttering to the marble floor like a dying bird. He stands there, surrounded by silence and the ghost of a marriage he destroyed through neglect, and for the first time in his adult life, Adrian Moretti doesn't know what to do. There's no negotiation here. No deal to be made. No amount of money or power or influence that can undo what he's done, or more accurately, what he failed to do. She's gone. And the cruelest part? She's not even angry. She's just done. The first rays of dawn break over the city, painting the penthouse in shades of gold and regret. Adrian hasn't moved from the bathroom, Isabella's letter still lying on the marble floor where it fell. In the growing light, he can see his reflection in the mirror, the same face that looked so untouchable in the elevator, now looking hollow. Haunted. For 15 years, he's been a king. But what good is a kingdom when you've exiled the only person who ever made you feel human? Adrian picks up his phone with shaking hands. He scrolls to Isabella's name, Bella Redheart, in his contacts, a heart emoji he must have added years ago when such things still mattered between them. His thumb hovers over the call button. What would he even say? I'm sorry I didn't notice you were drowning until you'd already saved yourself. I'm sorry I traded the best thing I ever had for hotel rooms and empty validation. I'm sorry I forgot that love isn't a conquest, it's a choice you make every single day. He presses call. It rings once. Twice. 3 times. Then, the number you are trying to reach is no longer in service. She changed her number. Of course she did. She didn't just leave the penthouse, she left him. Completely. Thoroughly. With the kind of finality that comes from someone who's spent months preparing for this moment. Adrian sets down the phone and moves through the penthouse like a ghost haunting his own life. Every room holds memories he'd forgotten, buried under years of ambition and neglect. The kitchen, where Isabella used to make him breakfast on Sundays, dancing to old jazz music while she cooked, wearing his shirt and nothing else. When had they stopped having lazy Sunday mornings? When had breakfast become something she prepared while he slept, leaving it for him like a hotel service? The living room, where they used to curl up on that white sofa and watch terrible reality TV, making up ridiculous backstories for the contestants. When had he last sat on that sofa with her? When had watching TV together become unproductive compared to answering emails on his phone? The balcony, where they'd stood on their first night in the penthouse, arms around each other, looking out at the city they'd conquered together. We did it, she'd whispered, tears of joy streaming down her face. We actually did it. And he'd kissed her like she was oxygen, like she was everything. When had he stopped kissing her like she was everything? Adrian finds himself in his study, pulling out his phone again. He opens his photo gallery, thousands of pictures. Business meetings. Properties. Cars. Success documented and catalogued. He scrolls back. And back. And back. The last photo of Isabella, 8 months ago, at a charity gala. She's smiling in the picture, wearing a blue dress he doesn't remember noticing that night. But now, looking at the photo with new eyes, he sees what he missed then, the smile doesn't reach her eyes. She's already disappearing in this picture, already becoming the ghost she'd eventually choose to be. He keeps scrolling. Back through years. Through anniversaries he half remembered and birthdays he'd celebrated, with expensive gifts instead of presents. Through photographs that document the slow death of something he'd taken for granted. Then he finds it. Their wedding day. Isabella, 27 years old, looking at him like he hung the moon. And himself, 27 and hungry for the world, looking at her like she was the world. The man in that photograph would have burned down the city for the woman beside him. The man he'd become couldn't be bothered to come home for dinner. Adrienne's phone buzzes. A text from Marco, boss, Romano wants to meet about the shipment. 9 a.m. The shipment. The deal. The business that never stops, never sleeps, never asks for your soul but takes it anyway if you're not careful. For 15 years, Adrian has responded to texts like this within minutes. Business always comes first. Everything else can wait. He types, cancel it. Cancel everything today. Marco responds immediately, everything? Boss, this is a big deal. Romano's not gonna. I said cancel it. I need the day. You okay? Adrian stares at the question. Is he okay? His wife just left him. His marriage just ended. His life just fell apart. And the strangest thing is, until he read that letter, he didn't even realize he was losing anything. No, he types back. I'm not. The hours pass in a blur of realization. Adrian sits in the living room as the sun climbs higher, and he does something he hasn't done in years. He thinks about what matters. Not deals. Not territory. Not power or prestige or the empire he's built on the backs of choices that seemed important at the time. He thinks about Isabella. Really thinks about her, not as the fixture she'd become, but as the woman she was. The girl who'd loved him when he was nobody, when all he had was ambition and audacity. The woman who'd believed in him before he believed in himself. The partner who'd celebrated every victory and mourned every setback right alongside him. When had he started seeing her as an accessory instead of the architect of everything he'd achieved? He pulls out a notebook, one of the leather-bound ones Isabella had given him for Christmas years ago, still pristine because he'd never found a purpose important enough for it. With shaking hands, he begins to write. Not a plan to win her back. He's not that delusional. Isabella's letter made it clear, she's done. And she deserves to be done. She deserves to find someone who'll choose her every day, who'll see her as essential instead of expected. No, he writes a different kind of letter. One she'll never read, but that he needs to write anyway. Dear Isabella. You're right about everything. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve a second chance. But I need you to know that I read your letter. Really read it. And for the first time in years, I saw clearly. I destroyed us. Not with grand betrayals or dramatic choices, but with something worse, benign neglect. I took the most precious thing I ever had and treated it like furniture. I assumed you'd always be there, so I stopped earning your presence. You asked when I stopped seeing you. I've been thinking about that all morning. There wasn't one moment. It was 1,000 small moments, every time I said, I'm too busy, every time I chose a meeting over a conversation, every time I took your love for granted because you'd never given me a reason to doubt it. You were so steady. So reliable. So devoted. And instead of treasuring that, I weaponized it. I used your loyalty against you, assuming it was infinite, assuming I could neglect you indefinitely and you'd still be there when I finally got around to appreciating you. I was wrong. And now I'm paying the price for that arrogance. You were right about everything in your letter, but especially this. I gave you everything except the one thing you needed, me. My attention. My curiosity. My partnership. My love, not as a past tense memory, but as a present tense choice. I can't undo what I've done. I can't get back the years I wasted treating you like an afterthought. But I can promise you this, I will never do this to anyone else. I will never again mistake presence for love, or provision for partnership. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. You deserve to be chosen, every single day. You deserve to feel seen and heard and valued. You deserved a husband who came home because he wanted to, not because it was convenient. I hope you find everything you're looking for. I hope you find someone who knows what I forgot, that you are extraordinary, and loving you should feel like a privilege, not an obligation. Thank you for 15 years of loving me better than I loved you. Thank you for trying. Thank you for leaving before you completely lost yourself. And thank you for teaching me the hardest lesson I've ever learned, that the most valuable things in life aren't conquered. They're nurtured. And the moment you stop nurturing them, you've already lost them, even if you don't realize it yet. I realized it too late. Don't be like me. Adrian. He sets down the pen and reads what he's written. It won't change anything. It won't bring her back. But maybe, just maybe, it's the first honest thing he's written in years. Closing sequence. Adrian Moretti sits in his penthouse, 32 floors above a city he controls, and feels smaller than he's ever felt in his life. He built an empire. He commanded respect and fear. He accumulated wealth and power and influence. And he lost the only thing that actually mattered. Music swells. If this story touched you, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button. Not for me, for yourself. Because every story we share here is a lesson someone paid dearly to learn. And if Isabella's pain can save even one relationship, then her heartbreak wasn't meaningless. Drop a comment below. Have you ever taken someone for granted? Or have you been Isabella, loving someone who forgot to love you back? Share your story. Let's build a community of people who refuse to repeat these mistakes. And here's your homework: go to someone you love, partner, parent, friend, and tell them they matter. Not tomorrow. Not when you're less busy. Right now. This video can wait. They can't. Because here's the truth Adrian learned too late. The life lesson. The most dangerous words in any relationship are, "They'll always be there." No, they won't. Love isn't a trophy you win and put on a shelf. It's a garden you tend every single day. The moment you stop watering it, stop nurturing it, stop choosing it, it begins to die. Slowly. Quietly. Until one day you wake up and realize you're living in a wasteland of your own creation. Adrian Moretti lost Isabella not because he was a villain, but because he was complacent. He assumed her love was infinite and self-sustaining. He treated her like furniture, always there, never requiring attention or appreciation. And that's the trap we all fall into. We stop dating our partners after we marry them. We stop expressing gratitude after it becomes routine. We stop choosing them consciously because we assume their choice to stay is permanent. But nothing is permanent when it's neglected. Here's what Adrian learned too late. 1. Presence is not love. Being physically there while emotionally absent is worse than not being there at all. It's a slow torture that makes someone feel invisible in their own relationship. 2. Indifference is crueler than anger. Isabella could have forgiven affairs, arguments, even betrayal, if he'd still cared enough to fight. But indifference? There's no coming back from making someone feel irrelevant. 3. I'm busy is not a free pass. Everyone is busy. We make time for what matters. If you can't find time for the people you claim to love, you're not busy, you're making a choice about who matters. 4. Expensive gifts don't replace emotional intimacy. Diamond earrings and designer dresses can't fill the void left by a partner who stopped asking, "How was your day?" and meaning it. 5. You can't negotiate your way out of neglect. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed with deals or promises. Some exits are final not because they're dramatic, but because they're necessary for survival. The ultimate lesson? Love the people who love you like they might not be there tomorrow. Because someday, they won't be, either through circumstances beyond your control, or through choices you could have prevented. Don't let the silence of absence be the thing that finally makes you hear what love was trying to tell you all along. Isabella gave Adrian 15 years. She gave him patience, devotion, and grace he didn't earn. And when she left, she took nothing but herself. Because in the end, that was all she had left.